Do you know what's funny? Not the kind of funny that makes people laugh. The kind that makes them uncomfortable. The kind that forces them to look away because somewhere, deep inside, they know it's true. Tell me, have you ever screamed without making a sound? Have you ever smiled while your entire world was collapsing behind your eyes? Of course you have. Because that's what society teaches. Smile. Be polite. Be productive. Keep moving. No one wants to hear about your nightmares. No one wants to know why your eyes look tired. No one asks why you're suddenly so quiet. And even if they do, they don't really want the answer. They ask because it's polite. Not because they care. Interesting, isn't it? The greatest performance in human history isn't happening in Hollywood. It's happening every morning, when millions of broken people look into a mirror, practice a fake smile, and walk into a world that only rewards masks. Funny. Everyone says, be yourself. But the moment you actually become yourself, they leave. You know what fascinates me? Pain. Not because it hurts. Because it reveals. Money lies. Success lies. Beauty lies. Popularity lies. But pain never lies. Pain strips away every costume you've ever worn. It tears the makeup off your soul. It whispers truths your happiness could never hear. That's why people fear it. Not because it hurts, but because it introduces them to themselves. Think about the strongest person you've ever met. Were they born fearless? No. Fear made them. Were they born wise? No. Failure educated them. Were they born cold? No. Someone taught them that love has conditions. That loyalty expires. That promises have expiration dates. Every scar is a lesson written in flesh. But here's where it gets interesting. The deepest wounds are invisible. No blood. No bruises. No broken bones. Just silent wars inside ordinary people. Look around tomorrow. The man buying coffee. The woman sitting on the train. The cashier wishing you a nice day. The security guard standing outside a building. The student laughing with friends. The businessman driving an expensive car. Every single one is hiding something. Every single one. Because people don't hide monsters. They hide pain. Monsters are born when pain has nowhere left to go. You want to know the cruelest joke life ever played? It convinced people that healing looks beautiful. It doesn't. Healing is ugly. Healing is crying over memories you thought you buried. Healing is waking up exhausted because your dreams refuse to let you rest. Healing is forgiving someone who never apologized. Healing is accepting that closure sometimes never comes. Nobody posts that part. Nobody uploads videos called Day 846. Still trying not to break. No. Social media loves victories. Life is lived in defeats. People celebrate survival. But they never ask, what had to die inside you so that you could survive. That's the real tragedy. Not what happened. What it transformed you into. Once, you believed people meant what they said. Now, you analyze every sentence, every smile, every compliment, every silence. Trust didn't disappear. It evolved into suspicion. Congratulations. You've become harder to fool, but also harder to love. Isn't evolution fascinating? Let me tell you a secret. Children don't fear vulnerability. Adults do. Children cry in public. Adults apologize for crying alone. Children trust immediately. Adults perform investigations. Children forgive. Adults collect evidence. At some point, someone convinced us that protecting our hearts was more important than living with them. So we built walls. Beautiful walls. Intelligent walls. Successful walls. Expensive walls. But here's the problem with walls. They keep pain out. They also keep love out. Funny. The prison was self-built. Some people think trauma sounds like screaming. Sometimes, it sounds like silence. Someone asks, "Are you okay?" You answer, "I'm just tired." That's trauma. Someone says, "You've changed." You smile. That's trauma. Someone tells you, "You used to laugh more." You nod. That's trauma. Pain rarely introduces itself. It simply changes your personality, and lets everyone blame you for it. Here's another joke. The people who tell you, "Just move on," are usually the ones who never carried what you carried. Imagine telling someone drowning to simply breathe. Imagine telling someone bleeding to stop losing blood. That's advice today. Quick. Convenient. Worthless. Because empathy takes time. Judgment takes seconds. Guess which one society prefers? There are two versions of every person. The one everyone knows. And the one who stares at the ceiling at 3 a.m., replaying conversations from 5 years ago. The one wondering if they were the problem. If they deserved what happened. If things would have been different, had they said one sentence differently. Funny thing about memory. It edits reality. It deletes your innocence. Then replays your mistakes. In high definition. Over, and over, and over again. Do you know why nights feel heavier? Because darkness removes distractions. No notifications. No meetings. No fake conversations. Just you, and the voice you've been running from all day. Some people fear ghosts. I fear uninterrupted thoughts. Because thoughts don't knock before entering. They simply appear. What if you weren't enough? What if they never loved you? What if everyone eventually leaves? What if this is who you are forever? You don't answer. Because deep down, you're terrified the voice might be right. But here's where everything changes. Pain doesn't ask permission. It enters. It rearranges your furniture. Breaks your windows. Steals your sleep. changes your reflection. Then one day, without warning, it leaves. Not because you defeated it, because it finished its work. You think pain came to destroy you. Sometimes, it came to introduce you to the person hiding underneath everyone else's expectations. You spent years trying to become someone people would never abandon. Think about that. Read it again. You changed yourself, hoping someone else would stay. What a masterpiece of self-destruction. You laughed at jokes you hated. You tolerated disrespect. You answered messages instantly. You apologized for things you didn't do. You became easier, smaller, quieter, less demanding, less emotional, less you. And they still left. Because people don't abandon perfection. They abandon convenience. The moment it stops being convenient. So tell me, who exactly were you sacrificing yourself for? Someone who forgot your birthday. Someone who replaced you in a week. Someone who called your loyalty clingy. Someone who weaponized your kindness. Interesting. You declared war against yourself for people who weren't even thinking about you. That's not love. That's emotional bankruptcy. Do you know what the most dangerous person in the room looks like? Not the loud one. Not the angry one. Not the one making threats. No. The most dangerous person is the one who has already lost everything they were afraid to lose. Because fear is what keeps most people obedient. They don't speak because they're afraid of rejection. They don't leave because they're afraid of loneliness. They don't fight because they're afraid of failure. Fear is the invisible leash around every human neck. And pain has a strange habit of cutting that leash. That's why people misunderstand broken people. They assume they're weak. No. Weak people break and stay broken. Some people break so completely that when they rebuild themselves, nothing can control them anymore. Imagine burning down your own house just to discover you were never the house. You were the fire. People always ask, what changed you? As if transformation happens in one dramatic moment. It doesn't. Nobody becomes cold overnight. Nobody wakes up one morning and decides, I don't believe in people anymore. No. It happens one disappointment at a time. One betrayal. One lie. One broken promise. One ignored message. One birthday forgotten. One apology that never came. One person saying, I'll always be here. Then disappearing, the moment life became inconvenient. Brick by brick, your innocence is demolished. Not by strangers. By the people you would have defended with your life. Funny, isn't it? The deepest cuts never come from enemies. Enemies don't get close enough. There's something almost poetic about betrayal. It requires trust. Which means, before someone breaks your heart, you handed it to them yourself. Carefully. Hopefully. With both hands. That's why betrayal hurts more than hate. Hate attacks from the front. Betrayal waits for you to lower your guard. Then smiles, while twisting the knife. People think trauma creates monsters. No. Trauma creates actors. Watch closely. Someone asks, "How's everything?" You answer, "Everything's great." Oscar-worthy performance. Someone says, "You seem happy." You smile wider. Another award. Someone compliments your strength. You thank them. Without telling them, strength wasn't a choice. It was survival. No one applauds survival, because they mistake it for confidence. Confidence is misunderstood. Some people think confidence means believing you're amazing. Wrong. Real confidence is surviving enough disappointment that you no longer need everyone's approval. There's a difference. One is ego. The other is freedom. Have you noticed how the world treats kindness? At first, they admire it. Then, they expect it. Eventually, they exploit it. Kindness becomes an obligation. Your generosity becomes their entitlement. Your patience becomes permission. Your forgiveness becomes routine. Until one day, you finally say, no. And suddenly, you're the villain. Funny. The same people who benefited from your silence are always shocked when you find your voice. That's another thing about people. They don't miss you, they miss access to you. They don't miss your heart. They miss your availability. They don't miss your love. They miss your usefulness. Read that carefully. Some relationships don't end because love disappeared. They end because usefulness expired. And that's a painful realization. To discover. You weren't loved. You were needed. There's a difference. Love asks, "How are you?" Need asks, "What can you do for me?" One heals. The other consumes. You know why manipulation works? Because good people assume everyone thinks like they do. Liars assume everyone lies. Cheaters assume everyone cheats. Manipulators assume everyone manipulates. But honest people never expect deception. That's why they're easier to deceive. Their greatest strength becomes their greatest vulnerability. Imagine carrying a glass of water. Easy. Now hold it for 1 hour. Painful. Hold it for 1 day. Unbearable. The glass never changed. The weight never increased. But time made it impossible. That's exactly how emotional pain works. Sometimes, it's not what happened. It's how long you've been carrying it. Nobody notices. Because invisible weight doesn't bend your back. It bends your soul. People often say, time heals everything. Really? Does it? Or does time simply teach you how to hide the limp? A soldier may survive the battlefield. That doesn't mean the war ever leaves him. Some scars don't disappear. They become part of your identity. The trick is learning the difference between carrying your pain and becoming your pain. Many people confuse the two. They introduce themselves through their wounds. They stop saying, "This happened to me," and start believing, this is me. That's the moment pain wins. Here's something terrifying. The human brain would rather repeat familiar suffering than risk unfamiliar happiness. Think about that. People stay in toxic relationships because they're familiar. Stay in miserable jobs because they're predictable. Stay around people who slowly destroy them because uncertainty feels scarier. The cage becomes comfortable. Freedom becomes frightening. The prison door has been unlocked for years. Yet most prisoners never leave. Because the unknown terrifies them more than the chains. Do you know what loneliness actually is? It isn't being alone. Being alone can be peaceful. Loneliness is being surrounded by people who never truly see you. It's laughing while secretly wishing someone would ask, what's really wrong? It's sitting at a crowded table, feeling completely invisible. It's realizing people know your name, but not your story. That's loneliness. Not silence. Misunderstanding. Here's another uncomfortable truth. Most people don't fall in love with you. They fall in love with the version of you that makes them feel good. The moment your pain requires effort, their affection starts negotiating. I miss the old you. Of course you do. The old me made life easier for you. The new me asks questions, sets boundaries, refuses disrespect. That version is inconvenient. Funny how love changes the moment self-respect enters the room. Every human being wears masks. The professional mask, the family mask, the confident mask, the funny mask, the strong mask. Some people wear so many masks, they forget what their own face looks like. And that's the greatest tragedy. Not losing someone else. Losing yourself while trying to keep them. Maybe that's why mirrors feel uncomfortable. Because mirrors don't show who you pretend to be. They show who's exhausted from pretending. Look into your own eyes sometime. Not for 5 seconds. For 5 minutes. Most people can't. Not because mirrors are scary. Because honesty is. The reflection asks questions that nobody else dares to ask. Who are you when no one's watching? Who are you without applause? Without followers? Without achievements? Without relationships? Without titles? Strip everything away, and what remains? That's the person pain has been trying to introduce you to all along. Maybe, just maybe, your greatest enemy was never the person who hurt you. Maybe it was the version of yourself that kept believing you deserved it. Do you know what scares people the most? It isn't violence. It isn't chaos. It isn't darkness. People adapt to all of those. No. What terrifies them is unpredictability. The moment they realize they can no longer control you, they begin calling you dangerous. Not because you changed. Because their influence disappeared. Funny. The same people who ignored your voice become obsessed when you stop speaking altogether. Silence is a language insecure people never learn to translate. There comes a moment, after enough sleepless nights, after enough disappointment, after enough conversations that ended with, "You'll understand someday," when something inside you simply stops. Not your heart, not your mind, something deeper. Expectation. You stop expecting loyalty. You stop expecting fairness. You stop expecting people to love you the way you love them. And strangely, that's the day suffering begins to lose its power. Because expectation is where disappointment lives. Destroy the expectation, and disappointment loses its home. People think revenge is about destruction. No. Real revenge is indifference. Nothing confuses a manipulator more than someone who no longer reacts. Think about it. They rehearsed the argument, prepared the insults, expected your tears, counted on your anger. They wanted proof that they still lived inside your mind. Then, you looked at them with complete emotional silence. No hatred, no pleading, no explanation. Just nothing. And for the first time, they realized they had lost something they could never get back. Access. The world has convinced people that closure comes from answers. It doesn't. Closure comes from acceptance. Sometimes you'll never know why they lied, why they cheated, why they disappeared, why they chose someone else, why they looked you in the eyes and promised forever while secretly planning goodbye. You'll never know. And maybe that's the point. Not every mystery deserves solving. Some are simply reminders that not everyone deserves unlimited access to your heart. Here's something no one admits. Some people miss being hurt. Not because they enjoy pain. Because pain became familiar. Chaos became routine. Peace felt suspicious. When life finally became quiet, they waited for disaster. Every phone call felt like bad news. Every compliment felt like manipulation. Every act of kindness felt temporary. Because the nervous system had learned one lesson. If something feels safe, it probably won't last. That's what invisible scars do. They rewrite reality. Imagine spending years learning how to survive a storm. You become an expert. You know every warning sign, every escape route, every emergency plan. Then one day, the sky becomes clear. No thunder, no rain, no wind, just peace. And suddenly, you don't know what to do. Because you mastered survival, not living. Many people aren't addicted to suffering. They're addicted to surviving. Without a battle, they no longer recognize themselves. People often ask, "Who hurt you?" Wrong question. The better question is, what did the pain teach you? Did it teach you that love is weakness? Or did it teach you to value the people who stay? Did it teach you to become cruel? Or did it teach you to stop confusing kindness with self-sacrifice? Pain is a teacher. But every student graduates differently. Some leave wiser. Some leave bitter. The classroom is exactly the same. The lesson depends on the one learning it. Have you noticed how quickly society labels people? One mistake, and you're irresponsible. One emotional breakdown, and you're unstable. One failure, and you're a loser. One success, and suddenly everyone always believed in you. Humans don't just judge actions. They invent identities. It's easier. Because understanding someone requires effort. Judging them requires only a moment. The greatest illusion is believing people see you. They don't. Most people see themselves reflected through you. To one person, you're intimidating. To another, you're inspiring. To another, you're forgettable. Same person. Different projection. People rarely meet the real you. They meet their interpretation of you. And then, they argue with that illusion, as if it were reality. Here's something strange. The people who accuse you of changing are often the ones who benefited most from the old version of you. The version who never said no. The version who apologized first. The version who accepted crumbs and called it love. When that version disappears, they mourn. Not because they lost you. Because they lost control. There's a difference. Do you know why wolves don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep? Because survival doesn't require approval. Some people spend their entire lives trying to be understood by those who were never listening. Imagine explaining music to someone determined to remain deaf. Eventually, you stop explaining. Not because you've given up. Because you've realized understanding cannot be forced. Every betrayal leaves behind a choice. Become what hurt you, or become what you once needed. That's the crossroads. Some people turn into the very monsters they escaped. Others become the shelter they never had. The pain is identical. The decision is everything. There is a reason diamonds form under pressure. But here's the part no one mentions. Pressure alone doesn't create diamonds. It also destroys weaker things. Pressure reveals what something is made of. The same fire that melts wax hardens steel. The same pain that breaks one person awakens another. So maybe the question isn't, why did this happen to me? Maybe the question is, what will this reveal about me? Because pain isn't just destruction. It's revelation. It exposes the cracks and the strength hidden beneath them. So, here we are. After every sleepless night, every betrayal, every goodbye that arrived without warning, every promise that dissolved the moment it became inconvenient, you're still here. Isn't that interesting? They expected you to disappear, to collapse, to become another forgotten story buried beneath the noise of the world. But you didn't. You changed. And sometimes, change is more frightening than defeat. People think surviving pain is the miracle. It isn't. The miracle is surviving without allowing pain to decide who you become. Because pain is persuasive. It whispers. Become colder. Trust no one. Make them feel what you felt. Those whispers sound reasonable. After all, they hurt you. Why shouldn't you return the favor? But revenge has an appetite. Feed it once, and it asks for more. Eventually, you wake up and realize you no longer recognize the person in the mirror. Not because they defeated you. Because you became the echo of what wounded you. That is pain's greatest victory. You know what's fascinating? People spend years chasing happiness, as if happiness is a destination. It's not. It's weather. It comes. It goes. No one controls the rain. No one orders the sunrise. And no one stays happy forever. The problem isn't sadness. The problem is believing sadness means you failed. Imagine blaming winter for not being summer. Absurd. Yet people do it to themselves every day. There is a strange freedom that arrives the moment you stop asking, "Why me?" and begin asking, "Now what?" The first question keeps you trapped in yesterday. The second builds tomorrow. One looks backward. The other walks forward. The past may explain you. It does not have permission to imprison you. Listen carefully. This may be the most important thing you'll hear tonight. The people who never saw your pain were never qualified to measure your strength. Think about that. They witnessed your smile, not the battles behind it. They heard your laughter, not the silence that followed. They judged your reactions, without knowing the years that created them. People evaluate the chapter they read. They never see the chapters you survived before the story reached them. So why would you hand them the authority to define your worth? The world rewards appearances. A polished resume. A confident handshake. A perfect photograph. A carefully edited life. But reality is written somewhere else. Reality is the father working double shifts while pretending he isn't exhausted. Reality is the mother smiling through heartbreak so her children never notice. Reality is the young man laughing with friends while questioning his future every night. Reality is the woman carrying invisible grief with such dignity that strangers mistake it for confidence. The strongest people are rarely the loudest. Sometimes, strength sounds like, "I made it through another day." And that's enough. You know, there's a misconception about scars. People think scars represent weakness. No. A scar is evidence. Evidence that something tried to destroy you, and failed. The wound is gone. The lesson remains. So stop hiding your scars. Not because they're beautiful. Because they're honest. And honesty is rarer than perfection. One day, someone will meet the version of you that pain created. They'll think you've always been calm. Always wise. Always careful. They'll never know that your patience was born from chaos. Your empathy from loneliness. Your boundaries from betrayal. Your courage from fear. People admire the masterpiece. They rarely imagine the fire that forged it. And maybe that's okay. Not everyone deserves access to your entire story. Some chapters were written only for you. Not every battle requires witnesses. Not every victory needs applause. Sometimes, the greatest triumph is simply becoming someone your younger self would have felt safe with. Imagine that child. The one who believed every promise. The one who trusted easily. The one who thought kindness guaranteed kindness in return. They didn't need a superhero. They needed someone to tell them, one day you'll survive this. Today, you are that someone. So what now? Do you spend the rest of your life counting the people who hurt you? Or do you begin counting the moments you refuse to become one of them? Because that's the difference. Anyone can spread pain. Pain spreads itself. Healing requires courage. Forgiveness requires discipline. Growth requires sacrifice. Not because the people who hurt you earned forgiveness, but because you deserve freedom. Freedom from replaying the same scene every night inside your own mind. Look around. Every stranger you pass is carrying an invisible story. The man who seems angry may be grieving. The woman who seems distant may be protecting a heart that has already been broken too many times. The teenager who jokes about everything may be terrified of silence. The elderly man sitting alone on a bench may still be talking to memories no one else can hear. You never know. That's why kindness matters. Not because everyone deserves it. Because you never truly know which battle another soul is quietly surviving. But don't misunderstand kindness. Kindness is not surrender. Kindness does not mean allowing yourself to be used. A tree gives shade. It does not uproot itself for those who refuse to appreciate it. Learn that. You can have compassion without abandoning yourself. You can forgive without reopening the same door. You can wish someone well while continuing your journey in the opposite direction. Peace sometimes sounds like goodbye. And now, let me leave you with one final thought. Perhaps the pain they never saw was never meant for them to understand. Perhaps it wasn't there to impress the world with your endurance. Perhaps it wasn't punishment. Perhaps it was preparation. Preparation for the moment when life would ask you to stand. Not because you were fearless, but because you had already survived worse. One day, someone will ask you, how did you become this strong? They'll expect a simple answer. They'll expect motivation. A secret. A shortcut. You could smile and tell them the truth. Strength wasn't something I found. It was something that remained after everything else was taken away. So, if tonight you feel invisible, if you believe no one noticed the battles you fought, remember this. The world doesn't have to witness your pain for your survival to be real. The applause never determined your value. The audience never decided your story. And the people who fail to see your scars do not get to decide whether they exist. Because in the end, your greatest victory was never proving them wrong. It was refusing to let their blindness become your identity. Funny, isn't it? They never saw your pain. But one day, they'll see your peace. And they'll wonder how someone who walked through so much darkness learned to carry so much light. They'll call it luck. They'll call it resilience. They'll call it destiny. Only you will know the truth. It was built, one silent battle, one broken promise, one lonely night, one impossible choice, at a time. So keep walking. Not because the road is easy. Not because the world suddenly became fair. But because every step forward is another sentence in a story that pain never got to finish. The end.